listening to A Scary State. And this week, we're talking about Ohio. Ohio. I know that's not what it is.
I don't think it is either.
Just seemed right for the moment. So, Lauren.
Yes, Kenzie.
Let's get scary.
Ohio. What is that from?
Ricola.
Oh. I think it works in this one just as well.
If people looked at our Instagram story from this past weekend when this episode goes out, you will see that I was with some cute doggies who were causing a disruption while I was trying to do my research. So you'll notice next episode might be a little bit shorter because I was distracted.
Like giving the warning right now.
Yeah. So you have a week to settle with that. But they're not my dogs. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Just dog sit.
Yes. I'm a dog sitter right now. Eventually I'll have my own.
Eventually.
Right now I take care of other people's babies.
No.
Fur babies.
Yes. Fur babies. Not real babies yet.
What'd you do this weekend, Lauren?
I went to a concert.
Tell us about it, Lauren.
Okay. So Jairus Johnson was supposed to open.
Who's that?
He sings a song called Damn and another about a sword. He's a very weird guy, but...
Is he like in that same genre of music?
Ish.
Okay.
He played at Blue Ridge when I went.
Okay.
Not the disaster Blue Ridge. That was exactly a year ago today.
Well, the only people we actually saw at Blue Ridge, I can't even remember their name because it was the first time I saw them.
Yeah, same.
I have a picture so I could look it up, but...
Highly suspect?
Yes.
Yeah.
Them. That was the only one we actively went to and watched.
Yeah. But anywho, he sent out like a thing where he was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like our computer is malfunctioning. Like this is the first time this has ever happened in 4 years. So we didn't see him. And then we saw Tech9.
He's a rapper, yes?
Yes.
Is that an odd combination or is that normal?
Well, he has a song with Falling in Reverse.
Okay.
So it makes sense that he was on the tour with them.
Okay.
And then there was Black Veil Brides. I only know one of their songs.
I feel like I've heard the name.
You have. They've been around for a while. And then Dance Gavin Dance.
I definitely heard them.
I know a lot of their songs, but they didn't play any of those songs.
Well, that's annoying.
I know. And then Falling in Reverse, where I knew every song.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're leaving after Tech9's set, and we're going to go like to the bathroom and go get drinks. And so we're walking out of, first off, we were supposed to be in the lawn.
Yes.
And then they told us as we're walking in that they closed the lawn, and they're like, we upgrade everyone to pavilion seats.
You might tell them why.
My thought is that they sold out the lawn, but they didn't sell out the pavilion.
Because it's expensive.
Right. So I think that they wanted the pavilion to look really full.
Yeah.
So they just gave everyone pavilion seats. But what we were hearing was that they, with like time limits and time constraints, they knew that it would take too long to empty out the field, like the lawn. So they put everyone in the pavilion because it is quicker to get out.
Was everyone... I don't know if you would have known or not, but like if the lawn is sold out and they're moving people to the pavilion, does that mean that everyone in the lawn does get a pavilion seat?
I don't know because some people just said F it and they sat in the lawn.
Okay.
But I liked my pavilion seat.
You guys had like you weren't like way far back like I was expecting
you to be. We got there
be.
early and so I think they're just handing it out in order. So we got section 101.
Yeah.
Amazing.
You guys were close.
We were so close. It was awesome. But so as we're walking
I
out.
only knew that because you did take a picture for that one.
I don't take many pictures.
I know, but that one you did.
Because Jared recorded some songs. And I said, can you send those to me? Because I didn't record a single song.
You still took a picture.
Because you asked me, how close are you? And I said, I'll show you.
Did you not post that?
No.
Oh.
It was a Snapchat.
You know you posted on your Snap story, right?
On the Snap story, yeah. What was that? Was that how close I was? No.
Did you accidentally post on your Snap
that
story?
On the Snap story was...
The bar.
The bar.
That's right. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. That's right.
Because we were at a bar beforehand and they were playing Falling in Reverse. And I was like, we looked around and everyone was there for the concert.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, they know their audience. But so as we're leaving to go get drinks in the bathroom and stuff, I see Tech9. I was like, Jared, there's Tech9. And
did you know any of his songs?
Not the ones he played.
Okay.
Again. And so I was like, you want to take a picture with him? And he was like, yeah, why not? Let's do it. And I said, okay. So we got in the Tech9 line. That's what I called it. And then, we got a picture with him. And so we went up and his songs are terrifying. He's such a sweet man. So he has one song. Well, there's one song where he talks about throwing a girl in a trunk because she didn't like Tech9. And then another one called The King of Darkness where he raps backwards to the devil. Yeah. It's very... like, it's a scary song, but you know that he has a lot of skill to be able to do that. But so we
That's
get
true.
up and we talk to him and we're like, oh, we really like KOD, which is the song King of Darkness. And he goes, oh, y'all like dark shit. And we're like, I don't know.
So do you, if that's what you're rapping about.
I
Like,
know.
what?
And Jared and I were like, I guess. And he goes, yeah, that was a really hard song for me to write. Like, I was in a dark place. And we're like,
Awkward.
makes sense. And we're like, well, you did a great job. Thank you so much.
That misery really paid off.
But yeah, it was really fun. So it was a great concert. The people in front of us, I've never had this, where the people in front of me are so considerate that I'm short behind them.
Wow.
Because the guy looked back after, like, every time we would stand up, he would look back. He goes, can you see?
Aw,
I was like,
that's so
thank
nice.
you so much. On the last, like, right before we left, I was like, you are the only person who has ever sat in
Yeah.
front of me who has been this considerate that I am
Absolutely.
behind you. Like, he was doing this, like, weird squat stance that I could see. I was like,
Even like
thank you
people
so
in the
much.
line where that actually really matters, because usually in seats, they're sometimes, not always, but they're usually like an incline.
A little bit. Yeah, there was an incline. But
Right.
him and his girlfriend, wife, I'm not sure their relationship, but they stood in just a way that I had a perfect square in
Yeah.
between them.
But like people on the line where I'm like, that actually matters,
Mhm.
are not, will just literally step in front of you.
Right. But no, these people were so sweet. And I was like, you are the only people who have ever been like this. And I appreciate it so much.
Absolutely.
But I saw so many little kids there with their parents. They like had the huge headphones. I was like,
Headphones.
that's going to be me.
Yeah.
I'm going to be rocking with my kid, huge headphones on. It was so good.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Good.
It was so good. And I'm always so sad when it ends.
Of course.
But yes, that was my weekend.
Sounds like a great time.
And then you watched dogs.
I watched some dogs
Sounds like a great
who
weekend.
were not allowed on the couch.
Oh, yeah. She told me.
So
The dog's mom was like, we're trying to get them off the couch. And I was like, but that's the best place.
Well, she was, when she told me, I was like, well, no couch snuggles? And I sent her all the pictures I had of all the times I've cuddled with her dogs on the couch. And she was like, yeah, for the trainer. And it was like, well, she was like, but the bed's fine. I said, well, I guess we're about to spend the whole damn bed. And that's what we did. Because I was like, I'll slide on the floor with him. I cannot tell them no.
No, you can't.
I cannot.
I like when we got new couches when I lived at home, my mom was like, no dogs on the couch. And then that lasted literally a couple hours.
Right. Because I'm like, well, for one thing, if you're going to do that, you got to start young from the beginning. Number one. Number two, I don't know why you would ever do that. I mean, I get,
I get
whatever,
the training
but, like,
reason behind it, but like,
right. Like that was the thing. I was like, I understand like for training purposes, whatever, but it is still going to be hard because they're used to being able to do it.
right.
Yeah, no, I can't say no.
Okay, Ohio.
Ohio. That's going to be the new song for Ohio, by the way.
Okay.
There's a whole thing with the kids right now with Ohio.
Oh, yeah. It means does it mean something bad?
I have no idea.
I think in youth terms, it means something like when something's bad. Oh, it was funny at the concert. Ronnie Radke was talking about like kid terms, and he was like, "What is it when kids like something?" And he like used some word, and I looked at Jerry. I said, "Do you know what that means?" He goes, "No." And all like, because it's like an older audience, everyone's like, "None of us know what that means."
Yeah, no,
It was so funny.
I haven't quite learned the lingo. If anything, I've learned it from TikTok from other adults complaining about the lingo.
I think it means when something's not cool.
Ohio?
Yeah,
Okay, how would you use it in a sentence?
that's Ohio.
That's dumb.
I don't know. We'll look it up and we'll educate ourselves
Okay.
and educate everyone else. Okay. In the 360 million years since the Blackhand Sandstone of Hocking Hills State Park served as a river delta, weathering and erosion have created deep caves and recesses within the thick stone. Humans first inhabited the hollows of Hocking Hills more than 7,000 years ago.
Hocking Hills.
No, no. But the 2,350-acre park's Old Man's Cave is named for a hermit who occupied it around the turn of the 19th century. From Old Man's Cave, hikers have the perfect view of the large waterfall, Middle Falls, and can watch the creek's clear water ripple and roll down the sandstone ledges. Also visible from Old Man's Cave is the Devil's Bathtub, a tub of water that spills over into Clear Creek.
I've definitely heard of that.
I have too. The cave also marks the start of a 6-mile hike connecting Old Man's Cave to Cedar Falls and the hulking horseshoe-shaped ash cave where water plunges over the rim into the pool below. That sounds really fun, and I kind of want to swim there.
Pretty. Yeah.
Archaeologists know that people have lived in the area now called Ohio for at least 13,000 years, thanks to discoveries such as some Ice Age ground sloths' bones marked by human tools at least that old. Those ground sloths were huge.
Everything was big.
So big.
The reason why it got so big is because they ain't got no predators.
Mm-hmm.
So they just kept going and going and going.
Like anacondas.
Anaconda don't. Anaconda don't. And don't want none unless you got buns, hun.
Many thousands of years after these ancient hunters lived, other Native American tribes, including the Erie, Kickapoo, and Shawnee, lived on the land. Kickapoo? Kickapoo. Kickapoo.
I feel like Kickapoo sounds better versus
Because you don't want to kick a poo.
Exactly.
The Till Plains is a large area in the west and center of the state that's also very fertile. Fertile.
That's like fragile.
Fragile.
Fragile. Sometimes if I'm like having to say it to another person, I'll end up saying fragile because I'm like, now I'm stressed that you're watching me try to say fragile.
Yes, exactly. In fact, so much corn grows there that it's considered the beginning of America's corn belt. I didn't know we had a corn belt,
Oh, yeah.
but now we do.
I figured it goes into Nebraska.
Corn belt, Bible belt, tornado valley.
I'm more willing to go to the corn than any of the other two.
The lowland region contains the highest point in Ohio, Campbell Hill, but it's not even high enough to be considered a mountain. Poor
It's just a
Ohio.
hill.
Just a hill. The bluegrass region is a small area in the south with steep cliffs and deep valleys. Sinkholes and caves dot the land. Ooh, sinkholes are scary.
Yes.
My coworker lived in Illinois. And did you remember it was a couple months ago where the whole soccer field in Illinois fell into a sinkhole? It was either Illinois or Missouri, one of those. But she was like, oh, that was the soccer field I always played on. I was like, that's terrifying.
That's scary.
So in this place, you can also see the 5-mile Serpent Mound meteor crater, which scientists think could have been formed by a meteor crash millions of years ago. Mined from beneath Lake Erie, the state produces about 5 million tons of salt a year. Pawpaw is an edible tree fruit that grows in Ohio and has its own festival every year. What is a pawpaw?
I don't know. Fruit.
Thank you. Compared to a country, oh God, Ohio is slightly larger than Cuba and twice as large as Croatia.
So what this means is,
Cuyahoga?
sure.
Valley National Park is relatively young, added in 2000, and follows the old abandoned Erie and Ohio Canal. Ohio also has 76 National Historic Sites and National Historic Parks, encompassing ancient earth mounds, a gravity research facility, cool, towboat, submarine, synagogue, forts, presidential tomb, and numerous other historic structures and homes. The first city to be lit electrically in the world was Cleveland in 1879. I don't know why that seems late.
1879.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of like the big inventions that like we are used to having
Yeah.
did not come until the latter of the 1800s into the Industrial Revolution.
Wild.
Because like beforehand, I mean, we were at war.
Well, yeah.
So, there was that problem.
That thing.
And then once that was over and things were rebuilding and all that kind of good stuff, that was when we got the influx of immigrants into the cities, that whole stuff. Then that happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. 1,000 to 2,000 years ago, indigenous people built earth mounds in the state, including Serpent Mound, which we talked about, the largest serpent effigy in the world, and those at Hopewell Culture National Historic Park. Ohio has 88 counties, which is a lot less than Texas's 254 and substantially more than Delaware's 3. 3? Oh my gosh. So when you close like a county for school, that's like you're closing like a third of the state.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Good math.
Thank you. At nearly 406 feet, the bar at Bear Barrel Saloon in Put-in Bay on South Mass Island has been recognized by Guinness as the world's largest permanent continuous bar.
It says on the picture, longest bar.
World's longest bar.
World's longest bar.
World's. Wow.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I guess.
Like the actual bar itself
Yeah.
is that long.
Oh, I bet you wouldn't have to wait forever for a drink. Maybe you
well,
would. Maybe you'd
it
have to wait
depends
even
on-
longer.
Depends on how many bartenders they have.
That is true. The world's oldest concrete street is located in Bellefontaine Court Avenue, and it was paved.
Sorry why there's so many periods there.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't know. It's fine. It was paved in 1891.
Look, I copied and pasted, and this was one of those websites that I was like, are we sure?
Cleveland is the 8th snowiest major city in the U.S. with 68.5 inches of snow annually, according to the Weather Channel. Is Cleveland near Erie? Because I feel like Erie is very snowy. It just sounds like a cold place.
Like near the Erie Canal?
Like Erie.
Lake Erie.
Yeah.
We don't have our map.
Oh, God, we don't have our map.
Yeah, and I was thinking too, like with my story for Ohio, we could definitely use our map.
Oh, good.
Because I talk about all these different places in Ohio, and some are crossing state lines and things like that. And it's like, obviously that has to be true, but like, it doesn't seem true.
How long is Cleveland from Erie? Oh, it's about 103 miles.
So,
So it takes you about an hour and a half to drive there.
Does Ohio touch Lake Erie?
Mhm.
Okay. Where's Cleveland then? In more central?
Yeah, Ohio, I think, touches Lake Erie. I only know that because I have a coworker who lived in who lived in Ohio and talked about being near Lake Erie.
Huh.
That's the only way I know.
Well, maybe it's just that's a town, technically.
Does Ohio touch Lake Erie? It does.
So maybe because it was the snowiest city
Maybe.
versus the snowiest major city in the U.S.
Okay. Okay.
Erie,
that's what
Ohio is not a major city in the U.S.
I don't think so.
It sucked because I was like trying to keep this nature focused, but there were so many firsts.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that'd been cool, but that's not technically nature. Like a bunch of presidents are from Ohio.
Oh, I know.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, there you go. That's Ohio. I'm not starting the thing. Okay, right. Your thing. Sorry.
Every time.
No, well, like for a second, because I got the 2 states up, I'm like, oh, yeah, we're starting to do right.
No.
We haven't finished Ohio yet. What spooky tea you pouring, Lauren?
Welcome to the most haunted town in Ohio,
All right.
Waynesville, located in Warren County.
Not Wayne's World.
No, Waynesville.
Yeah.
It is known as the antiques capital of the Midwest.
Oh,
They are also known for their annual sauerkraut festival, which is held the second weekend in October. I love sauerkraut. Only on hot dogs.
I just started eating a hot dog in a bun, so like let's.
For you, we need to stay calm.
Yeah.
This event draws nearly 400,000 visitors and craft vendors from all over the country.
Goddamn.
I know. It's nearby Cedar Lake, which was dedicated in July of 1978. Means it was like became that lake. It was originally created as a solution to flood control issues, but today it is a wonderful area for boating, swimming, hiking trails, wildlife viewing, and fossil hunting.
I thought you were about to say that it was dedicated to Caesar, and I'm like, talk about a few centuries late.
Just a couple. The Little Miami Scenic River is one of only 156 rivers in the U.S. designated as a National Wild and Scenic River.
Do you know how fucking confusing it is when people talk about the University of Miami, but it's in Ohio?
Oh, yeah. There's an episode of The Office where Kelly is going to move with Ryan and she goes, see you all later. I'm going to Miami. And she sells all of her jackets and then realizes it's Ohio, Miami. And then she gets really mad that they have the same name.
Yeah.
So Little Miami Scenic River also offers hiking, biking, canoeing, and kayaking.
Like what a random place for an additional Miami to be.
I know, in
Ohio.
Ohio. And as of the 2020 census, the town of Waynesville had a population of only 2,669.
And half of them are dead. You said it's haunted.
Oh. No, that's the living population.
Ah,
Yeah.
Okay. So really it's 3,000.
Oh, it's way more than that.
Yeah.
So in 1792, Samuel Highway, that was his name,
Nice.
an Englishman, visited the Northwest Territory. While here, he became very interested in an area that sat between the Little Miami and Great Miami rivers.
Oh my God.
He had to return to England, but while there, he dreamt of returning to America, to this very place.
They weren't named Miami then.
I think they were Little Miami and Great Miami rivers.
I know Florida had been around for a minute because of the Spanish. When did Miami become a town? It was an officially incorporated city and not until 1896.
Wow. Anywho, so he did return. In 1796, he purchased approximately 30,000 acres of land for $1.55 per acre from Judge John Cleves Simmons.
It should have been named Highway River. Now that would have been confusing.
It would have been.
Is it a highway or is it a river?
And with that, Waynesville was founded in 1797 on the west bank of the Little Miami River.
But his name isn't even Wayne.
He had intended for the town to be called Terraceville at first, but the name was later changed to Waynesville in honor of Captain Mad Anthony Wayne, a true American hero who had signed the Treaty of Greenville, which I will get to in a second.
Oh, okay. There's a lot of vills and a lot of, yeah. Okay.
Like you can be so unique with this because there's not a lot of places yet, and you choose Terraceville, Wayneville.
Like Highwayville would have been so great.
That would have been kind of cool.
That would have been an awesome name.
Mr. Highway, along with Methodist clergyman Reverend John Smith, medical doctor Dr. Evan Beans, and young scientist Sir Francis Bailey and their wives started to develop the land. Doesn't Francis Bailey sound like a person who we know?
I feel like.
Yeah.
Do we know what he did?
He was a young scientist.
Do we know what kind of science? If he's a doctor, I'm going to fucking lose my mind.
No, because we already have a medical doctor, Dr. Evan Beans.
That's right. So we have 2 different kinds of scientists. There is a lot of Sir Francises, so maybe that's why. Because there's a Sir Francis Drake, a Sir Francis Bacon. He's just an astronomer.
Okay, well, they all started to develop the land. He built what appeared to have been the first cabin in the village on March 9th, 1797. He planned the town to be in the fashion of an English village, laying out the town in 12 squares of 4 acres each. In 1801, Quaker families began to arrive to the area. So many of the Quaker families who settled here had come up from the South in order to escape the slave states. By 1801, Waynesville had one of the largest Friends, with a capital F, meetings in the U.S., so I think it's just like a meeting thing. It was part of the Northwest Territory until Ohio achieved statehood in 1803. Then, through the Treaty of Greenville, the land was opened for settlement by General Mad Anthony Wayne. Waynesville remained a very important part of Quaker settlement. The Miami Monthly Meeting is located here. It was established in 1803 and was the first such gathering in southwestern Ohio.
Is his name Mad because he's like, woo?
Like, Mad is like his nickname.
Okay.
I don't know why, but it just is his nickname. The accommodation stagecoach line ran along 3rd Street, which at the time was a major road. It was also the halfway point between Springfield, Ohio and Cincinnati, Ohio. And by the first half of the 19th century, Main Street had become the center of Waynesville's commercial activity.
Most main streets are.
Exactly. Very fitting. And Waynesville was also a very important stop on the Underground Railroad. It was close to the routes that went through Kentucky to Cincinnati and northward through Ohio to Detroit and Windsor, Ontario. They had a network of tunnels that connected safe homes with one another, and many led to the Little Miami River, where river water prevented dogs from finding their trails.
Nice.
Some of these safe homes remain standing today. Today, the village of Waynesville has over 200 historic buildings, many of those properties being in the older section of town. But with the town being so old and historic, it may not be surprising that Waynesville has become known as the most haunted town in Ohio, with over 30 haunted places located within the town limits.
Wow.
So let's get into just some of the haunted buildings. So first we have the Hamel House Inn, or Hamel House. This inn is probably one of the most haunted buildings in the entire town and was founded as an inn in 1822. It may have started first as a tavern back in the 1800s. Then Waynesville's first elections took place in the building in 1803. It was then constructed as an inn and stagecoach stop in 1822. Between 1822 and 1841, there were a few different owners. Then in 1841, it was sold to Enoch Hamel.
Nice.
Hamel was a prominent member of the community. He was a candidate for county sheriff and Wayne Township trustee. Though Mr. Hamel seemed to be in good standing in the community, his inn didn't seem to reflect that.
His what?
His inn?
Oh. I thought when you said his inn didn't, that it was indent. And I was like, what is that?
No, his inn didn't.
Okay.
Miss Ann O'Neill, a local Quaker woman, described the activity of the Hamel house as, quote, bacchanalian revelry and ribald conduct which was hourly enacted. Pretty much meaning that there's a lot of debauchery going on over there.
Okay.
Miss O'Neill lived right across the street from the Hamel house and had to pull a large wagon in front of her cabin so that her children would not witness what was going on inside. Then Mr. W.O. Guston entered the picture and added electricity, hot and cold water, and everything else needed to make the house a first-class country hotel. Mr. Guston remodeled parts of the inn and added a livery and feed stable, as he was a, quote, enthusiastic admirer of fine coach horses.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, like, I guess during these times, places, even cities, would have stuff for horses.
I would
'cause
assume.
that's how people travel.
Mhm.
Okay.
In June of 2022, the inn came under the ownership of Kevin and Sherry Douglas.
2022?
Mhm.
Okay. We jumped ahead.
We
Got
jumped
it.
way ahead. Some notable guests at the inn have been Charles Dickens, J.D. Rockefeller, and a few U.S. presidents.
Ooh.
So now on to the hauntings that this inn houses. The most haunted room in the inn is room 4. Those who have visited the inn have reported seeing the shadowy spirit of a young merchant who was killed in the inn. He is usually the spirit seen in room 4, but he has also been spotted in the dining room. There's also a foggy figure of a man seen in the room. Legend goes that he was a young traveling salesman who dealt in gems and jewelry, and he checked into the hotel but never checked out. He completely disappeared without a trace. The innkeeper at the time sold the traveler's horse and carriage quickly following the man's disappearance, which many viewed as being very suspicious.
Mm-hmm.
It was rumored that the innkeeper murdered the salesman and dumped his body into a well.
It seems to be a common thing during this time with innkeepers.
Just like killing people.
Yeah.
I know! Like getting rid of the bodies, taking all their stuff, and then just killing them.
Yeah.
Some even say that he confessed to the murder on his deathbed. So, some claim that this young spirit is the young traveler, while others are convinced that the spirit is that of the innkeeper, who felt so guilty about his crime that his spirit is now stuck in the inn, unable to move on.
Those are drastically different people.
But they both are part of the same situation.
Yeah.
The New York Times even wrote a little blurb about this story in their February 23rd, 1881 edition.
Were you able to find it?
No, I didn't look. The sound of a girl crying is usually heard in the basement, as well as other sounds of children crying in the basement and in the tunnels that were once used as part of the Underground Railroad.
Still dark either way you look at it.
Uh-huh. I know. There's not ever a good reason why a little girl would be crying in a basement.
Or children in general.
Or children in general.
Yeah, no.
Those who have worked at the inn have reported hearing the girl say, quote, hurry up. They have witnessed glasses sliding off of tables as well, seemingly with no explanation. Housekeepers have even heard their name being called when they are alone. People have reported seeing a ghostly black cat in the hallways. It even leaves fur on the stairs and has left paw prints on people. And before you say anything, it is a confirmed ghost cat.
What did you think I was going to say?
Well, then how is there fur if it's a ghost cat?
No, I was just going to say that's rude as fuck for that cat to leave its fur.
Oh.
Especially if it's dead. Why are you shedding?
Okay, good. I wonder if I would be allergic to ghost cats.
Well, obviously, if they still shed.
Yeah. There are many other spirits that are seen at the inn as well. A lot of these spirits are wearing period clothing.
I would love just one day for someone to talk about a place from the 1800s and they see a ghost that's wearing shit from like the 70s.
Or one of those like Gucci tracksuits.
One of the two. Like that would just be...
She was wearing a purple Gucci tracksuit that said juicy on the butt.
Exactly. Now that and been like, well, you definitely saw a ghost because that is the most random shit you could see in a house.
Disembodied footsteps and voices are also often heard and reported.
How do they know the difference between the footsteps versus just the sound of the house?
Because you know what footsteps sound like.
Yeah, but sometimes things move.
Settling of houses don't sound like footsteps.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but I don't think so. There are also reports of apparitions and poltergeist-like activity. So, like, guests have woken up to a man arguing and throwing things in their room, but when they go to turn on the light, no one is in the room with them.
But is there stuff still thrown?
I don't know. That wasn't reported.
That's a key point of information.
I know. One evening, a man checked in. He wanted a calm night, so he checked into room 3. He was told he would be the only guest that night, which the man thought would be great. That would ensure a calm and quiet night. He went into his room and promptly went to sleep.
That would not calm me. That would immediately make me leave.
That would freak me out too. Eventually, he was woken by a large party sounded like it was right outside his door. He jumped out of bed, ran to his door, unlocked it, and yanked it open, only to be greeted by complete and utter silence. He decided to investigate and look around a bit.
What a man move.
He explored the entire first floor and the basement, noticing both were completely empty, and he really was the only guest there. The next morning, he noticed a dark shadow moving from room 2's wall into his room. So he saw a shadow come into his room. But everyone who has encountered one of the spirits here has reported no feeling of fear or malice, just more so a sense of mischief. But I read on August 1st of 2024, so like just a month ago, the Hamel House Inn suffered a fire to the kitchen and will be closed until further notice.
Oh,
I know.
The poltergeist went a little too far.
A little bit. Then we have the Stetson House. So Louisa Stetson Larick lived here in Waynesville at the Stetson House. In 1861 and 1865, her brother John came to visit her. He was suffering from tuberculosis and asthma, and his prognosis was not good. So Louisa was caring for her brother. John had recently been cut out of the Stetson's family's hat-making business due to his unfortunate prognosis. Well, he was...
Damn!
I know!
Oh,
I know! His parents were like, you're not gonna make it, like, bye.
Wait till the guy's fucking dead, then he's not gonna get anything anyway.
I know!
Jesus Christ!
Oh my God. While he was visiting his sister, a fellow traveler came in requesting a hat. John wanted to make it, and he designed a new kind of hat, the first American cowboy hat.
Bro, okay, 1, that's cool. Don't get me wrong. But 2, if I walk into a store and a guy's hacking up a lung, he's like, I'll make it. No, thank you.
I don't really think they knew about the whole, like,
germs
thing yet. Yeah.
Okay.
So what was interesting, and why this ties into my concert, Ronnie Radke was wearing a Stetson hat.
Yeah.
At the concert, and he was talking about it. Apparently, these things were like $3,000, and they're like super, super expensive. Because at one point he was like, "Oh, I'll toss it into the audience." He goes, "Just kidding, this thing's expensive." He had a really cool hat too that said "Emo Cowboy."
Nice.
And I was like, I like that. So John made a miraculous recovery in his health.
Oh, magic hat.
But he had sadly passed the TB on to his sister Louisa. She wasn't as lucky. She wasn't.
Is she gonna get picked up too?
No, she just passed away in 1879.
Does he get put back in since he made it?
I don't know. But John kind of sucked. So during his whole illness, Louisa cared for him both physically and financially.
I have no doubt that he did not return the favor.
But when Louisa fell sick, John gave her only $60, which was her original investment into his hat design. His hat design would soon become a multi-million-dollar empire, and all he gave his sister was $60.
She better haunt the fuck out of that place.
So to this day, people report seeing an apparition of a woman with dark hair. Many believe it is Louisa, wearing a high-collared dress and old-fashioned gloves. She is seen standing in the doorway of the Stetson house and sometimes trying to enter nearby shops. But some also believe this figure could be a school teacher named Lila Benham, though I have literally zero information on this teacher.
No, it's Louisa.
It's Louisa. Now, mirrors constantly fall off the walls and will not stay put. The smell of gingerbread also often fills the air, even though there is no longer a kitchen in the home.
Is this place still like used as like one of the places for their like business of the hats, or is it just
Honestly, I'm not sure. It didn't really talk about it.
because if it was like, you know how like there's the Starbucks in Seattle
I went there.
of like the first one, so
went
like
there.
is this that?
I don't know.
Like, have they kept it restored since now they're obviously a multi-million-dollar company, or was it just like this is where this started and then?
I think maybe this is where it started. There's like a plaque and stuff there for
Yeah.
like, talking about it.
Because if I was her and that shit stuck around, I would take the company.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
God.
Burn a little money here and there.
Like
Throw a couple hats in the fire here and there.
100%.
Yeah.
Have it blow off and just whoop. Sorry.
A man named Jonathan Maxwell took a photo of the Stetson house while visiting the town for his mom's birthday. His experience is documented on the Ohio Exploration Society's page under the paranormal tab. So if you go to their page, they have this whole paranormal section of all of the
town?
all the different towns in Ohio.
Oh.
So you can go to every single town in Ohio and see the haunted things that people have talked about.
Oh, cool.
It's so cool. So his story goes, quote, I distinctly remember this fall weekend 2001. We were out celebrating my mother's birthday on the Saturday immediately following 9/11. Being the casual photographer I am, I brought my camera to take pictures all around historic Waynesville. I snapped a shot of the Stetson house as we were going in to shop at the Cranberry Bog. The business's name today. Oh, so I guess they changed their name.
Yeah.
The photo was really of little importance to me, sitting in my archived photos until 2005 when I started sorting. There were only 3 people in the photo when I took it: my mother, grandmother, and father, in that order, walking into the shop. Indeed, they were there, but there is some other figure too. There's a ghostly figure looking down on me from the top window. Ever since I started reading the Haunted Ohio series, and since I took Waynesville's haunted tour, I am convinced Louisa Stetson made an appearance for my photo. So I looked at the photo.
Mhm.
It very much looks like a woman wearing a white dress with long black hair, like with her arm like this, just kind of looking out the window.
Ooh.
It's creepy.
I'm thinking about like this guy taking pictures. So like nowadays, you can pretty much see the picture after you take it.
Yeah.
But all the people are like, we later discovered this in the picture. When they say later,
Well, I don't think they look at it, be like, oh, here's the photo. But then I think it's like after, when they're actually looking at it, they're looking at everything in the photo and then you see it.
okay.
It's like, I mean, if I'm taking a picture of a house, I'm not going to zoom into every single window in the house the moment I take it.
I'm just thinking like more like so that like the orbs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, usually it's digital cameras, which you can see the picture right away.
Yeah, well, this one, there's no orb in it. It's just the
It's just
person like
the-
actually up in the window.
Yeah, no, that makes more sense of like not really seeing it
Yeah.
until you really take a look at it.
Yeah. I don't know.
How that worked.
Or it could be you just kind of click a few and then you move on and then you later are looking back at it.
Yeah.
So in the house that once existed across the street from the Stetson house lived Miss Molly Hattie, her sister Clementine Weeks, and her 12-year-old niece Myrtle Weeks. In late August of 1879, the 3 were brutally murdered. Miss Hattie's son and her ex-husband were the prime suspects in the case, but her son had died from an apparent suicide and no one was ever convicted of the crimes. The home where the murders occurred was demolished due to reports of, quote, strange and unsettling sounds.
Do you think that gets rid of ghosts?
Demolishing the house?
Mm-hmm.
No.
I don't think so.
I don't think at all.
Yeah.
A new home was built on the same lot, and the tenants of the new site often report seeing a Victorian woman holding the hand of a small girl.
Oh.
So there, I really do not think that it gets rid of the ghosts. It might even make them mad.
Right. I'm like, I get the notion,
Right.
but it's like,
Out with the old, in with the new.
yeah.
But then you still have the old ghosts.
But
'cause
I'm
you
like,
disturb them.
ghosts can show up.
Yeah.
They can go through solid objects. I don't think a house being gone
Is
gonna
going to change. Right.
anything.
There may be a forever visitor at the Angel of the Garden tea room. Those who have walked past the building have noticed a face in the upstairs window looking down on the town.
No.
The ghost is said to always have a mournful expression. So the creepy part of this, well, creepier part, is that in the 1950s, human bones were found in the
Nah.
upstairs room of the building. Many believe that these bones belong to the ghost who now haunts the place.
Wait, when was it knocked down?
This place wasn't knocked down.
Oh, this is a different place.
This is a different place.
Sorry.
This is Angel of the Garden tea room.
Oh, okay.
Yay. Then we have the Caesars Creek Pioneer Village. I bet you anything it's near Caesars Creek. It is also known
By
as
Caesar's Lake?
Caesars Creek.
Wasn't there a lake that they named after Caesar?
No, the lake is the Little Miami. Oh, that's a river. Caesar something.
Caesar salad?
Oh, my favorite. So this village is also known as the Levi Lucan's house. It was built in 1807 and is now haunted by the ghost of Uncle Bob.
Having a
Killed-
Levi.
I don't know.
Or Levin, or whatever his name was.
Levi Lukens.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't go into much of the history. I just tried to find the ghosts.
Maybe they called him Bob.
Very common nickname for Levi. Uncle Bob was killed in the 1940s in an automobile accident.
Just kidding.
Then we have the Quaker Meeting House. So to start off, this building doesn't have a kitchen, but people often report hearing mysterious sounds of a kitchen.
Well, it's a meeting house, so you don't need a kitchen, right?
No, but people say that they hear the sounds of a kitchen.
Oh, I see.
That's the weird
Okay.
Eerie organ music is also heard. As for sights, the apparition of a woman dressed in old-fashioned school teacher clothing is sometimes seen in one of the windows carrying a candle.
When you said eerie, I was like the place?
Is the organ from Erie? No, this is Erie with 2 E's.
And then I realized that that's also an adjective.
Then the Waynesville Area Culture and Heritage Center, they have the ghost of a former female school teacher who is said to walk down the stairs in the building.
What did her dirty?
I don't know. Maybe she just
Probably some-
really, once you're committed to teaching, you're just always committed. And now she just walks up and down the stairs.
I would rather be in hell than haunt a school. I'm gonna just throw that out there.
I know, I really wanted to see what you were going to say.
Oh my God, if that's where I ended up being and I couldn't get out, I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
The man who donated the land for the Waynesville firehouse, where it now sits, is said to still regularly walk the grounds, even though he died in 1982.
That's a recent ghost.
I know!
Shit.
That's one of our most recent ghosts.
Yeah.
Buckeye Charm is a Western boutique owned by Adam Powell. Paula Diotko of P3, Paula's Paranormal Project,
Okay.
said that her first haunting happened at the Buckeye Charm. The property was built in 1877 as St. Augustine's Catholic Church.
Ooh.
It was sold in 1976 to become a commercial building. When Adam Powell bought the property, he started renovations immediately. He admitted that he was a huge skeptic, but pretty quickly he began hearing voices, footsteps, and door slamming. The Travel Channel visited the site and shot an episode of Ghost Nation. The Travel Channel even confirmed that the Buckeye Charm is indeed haunted.
You know what I thought about when you were talking about how the church became something else?
Mhm.
In Baltimore, I just saw on TikTok that there is a church that's been converted into a bar.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when we went to Charleston, we went to that one church that was now a restaurant.
Yeah, but this one I think is really new, so it still really looks like a church.
Ooh.
Like that one looked like a church, but like it looked like it was purposely looked like a church, but then had different decorations. This was
Right.
like, oh, this was just a church.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I kind of want to go.
It's so big too. Like it's not like that one where it was like in the city like that. Like it's definitely.
I'll be in Baltimore soon. You should send me the name of it so I can see.
No, I don't want to go.
I'll go check it out first, and then you'll go with me. I'm going to celebrate my honeymoon. Not my honeymoon. Anniversary. I think it's because I said honeymoon for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Anniversary. We're going to Baltimore
I'm not gonna tell you
to go see Dayseeker.
because I'm not invited to this anniversary. So I'm not gonna tell you.
You can sleep at the foot of our bed.
No, thank you.
So, the Travel Channel confirming it was haunted. They said during filming they caught an EVP that said, quote, "Hallowed be thy name."
Well, it is a church and it's Catholic. So.
Exactly. They said that the EVP was so loud and clear that they actually thought that they were being pranked by the owners of the building. They turned on all of the lights and searched the building for a speaker, but were not able to find anything to prove that it had been faked.
Question.
Yes.
Maybe not necessarily for you, but for our Catholic friend. So, do they believe in ghosts?
Well,
Like, is that-
there's like the Holy Ghost.
Right. But like, is that
See, I'm very confused because they usually don't, but then they have the Holy Ghost.
yeah? Well, apparently the Holy Spirit, the Holy Ghost, and someone else are all the same person.
The Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost.
That guy.
Catholic friend, chime in.
Like,
We have to start reading her responses when we ask these questions
Oh,
because
yeah,
she
she
does
always
answer.
answers us.
So we need to start like answering them.
she does always answer us, and we never share.
And it's great knowledge for us. We're like, oh my God, that makes so much sense, but we never share it.
Yeah.
So we need to start doing that.
Yeah.
Also here, there are children ghosts who run around the Buckeye Charm. They're believed to be the children from the Rogers family, just a family who lived there. One of the children is well known to be very mischievous. Father Jim, who was the longest standing priest at the church, when it was a church, is also present. He passed away in the building from a heart attack.
Ooh.
He was found on the altar area, and he is typically seen in windows. Paula, the one who owns P3, offers ghost tours all over the town and likes to say, quote, "Waynesville has an extra layer of hospitality that you just don't see."
Woohoo. You know what they should do on their sign for their town where they put the population? In parentheses, they should put ish.
We'll write to Waynesville and tell them.
Yeah.
So the Friends boarding house was established in 1904 as a retirement home for elderly Quakers. In the home, the sound of ladies clattering around making cookies can be heard, though there is no longer a kitchen. When it was a nursing home, the office staff vacated the premises with no explanation for their departure. It was later found out that the woman left because as they were using the offices, they heard kids in the kitchen laughing and carrying on.
So there's no kitchen.
When it had a
and
kitchen.
No.
When it had a kitchen.
Oh, I thought you said there's no kitchen.
Now.
Now there's no kitchen.
Yeah.
Oh,
So when
okay.
it had a kitchen.
I didn't realize at one point it had a kitchen.
Yes.
Oh.
So when it had a kitchen, they walked down to the kitchen.
Ooh,
They
you
found.
think they're like in the walls of wherever they covered up the kitchen?
Ew.
Using the kitchen?
I think they just converted the kitchen to something else. I don't think they blocked off the kitchen.
So it's like that means that those ghosts, when they're in that room, they still see a kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Yeah. But so they walked down to the kitchen and they found the doors were locked and that there were no children in the building at all.
Or they used to be kitchen.
They used to. No. When they were there, it was a kitchen.
Oh,
I literally just explained that like 2 minutes ago.
I know. I didn't realize that these people were there when it was a kitchen. I thought it was these people weren't there when it now wasn't a kitchen
Literally
again.
to myself while I was doing these notes, I was like, should I flip these two bullets so that Mackenzie doesn't get confused? So there was a kitchen.
And these women were there
when it was
a kitchen.
And they heard children playing in the kitchen.
But there was no children
there were no children
in said kitchen.
And now the kitchen is gone.
When in the kitchen is gone recently.
I don't know, since then.
Okay.
Yeah. The house also contains a museum. The museum at the Friends home.
Maybe that's the kitchen.
No. It was developed in 1999 by a group of local citizens who felt that Waynesville needed a place to house its rich history. The museum opened in 2000. With this museum, we have information on a lot of the hauntings around Waynesville, and this museum also has its own ghost. So some believe the spirit is that of Mary Lynch. Her parents fell ill and were no longer able to care for Mary when she was young, so she was removed from their care. Her father didn't survive the illness and he passed, but her mother eventually did recover. There were many attempts to return Mary and her siblings to her mother's care, but for whatever reason, they were unsuccessful. So now people report seeing a young ghost in period dress at the museum's front porch. Others have reported that toys located within the museum will move from time to time, seemingly on their own. Linda Morgan, vice president of the museum and tour guide, said that there was one afternoon where she was at the museum. So she said as she was leaving one day, she was looking at the garage doors of the museum. She said, quote, "I thought, what are we going to do? The doors are rotten. The whole bottoms are coming out. It looks terrible. You have to be authentic with the time period as a history museum. You can't just call overhead door to put one in. It's going to be thousands of dollars. I went home and 3 hours later I got this email," she continued. "The lady that lived across the street who parked her car in her driveway every day was out back with her husband. They heard a terrible crash and thought the two cars had collided. Then they came running out here. Her car had gone from park into neutral. It rolled out of their driveway, down the hill, and across the street into our garage doors, right into the middle of where they needed to be demolished. All of the stuff that was in there for the garage sale were trashed. The insurance company paid for the new door and $500 to replace the damaged garage sale items. So who can explain this?"
Now that is the kind of ghost I'm looking for.
Right.
Hell yeah.
I know.
That is fantastic.
Yup.
That we need a little bit more of. Haunt anything you fucking want if that's what you're going to do.
If you're going to break something and I get it all replaced for free, have at it.
Grant my wishes.
Then the last place is the Waynesville Union Schoolhouse. Not the last haunted place, just the last one I'm going to talk about. So this schoolhouse was built in 1891 and is currently being used by the American Legion as a new school was built close by. The American Legion had their bar in the basement of the building where the guys could go drink, as it was the only place in town where they could. Stories started to pop up about paranormal happenings in the basement, so Lee Allen, a local paranormal investigator, was contacted. He brought in a psychic from Columbus, a psychic who knew nothing about the town. Down in the basement, the psychic all of a sudden said, quote, "There's some men here that don't want you ladies here in the basement at all in their Legion Hall. They want you to leave. Now. They're really serious. They want you to leave. This is not a place for ladies." She continued on and said, "Their names are Ralph and Carl, and they really seriously want you to leave." Morgan mentioned the story to a friend who grew up right around the corner from the Legion. This friend knew of a Ralph Smith and Carl Stryver who spent every day in the basement of the bar.
Oh.
So there you have the haunted town of Waynesville.
No teachers in there from it being
Nope. Nothing about the school, just Ralph and Carl, who are mad when girls are down in their bar.
So the teacher might haunt the hat place.
Right, but not the school.
Okay, I'll take it. I'll haunt a hat place.
I mean, you said you would never want to haunt a school.
Yeah.
So she's like, let's go to
She's
the
like,
hat place.
No. I've been spending way too much time there.
I want somewhere else.
Yes, that haunted me.
So one of these guys I work with, He saw my tattoos. We started talking about tattoos, which led to the podcast. And so I was telling him about the podcast. And he told me about this haunting that he had at a hotel in Ohio.
Nice.
And I was like, oh my God, was it Waynesville? He goes, no, it was somewhere else. But I was like, oh, well, Waynesville is haunted.
Did you tell him to send it in?
Yes. Did I? I don't know. I gave him a sticker.
You just have those?
Well, from when you gave them to me all cut up,
Yeah.
I brought them to work because I had friends who wanted stickers.
Oh, nice.
So now I just have them in my drawer.
Lovely.
I know. And he's like, because I showed him my water bottle. He's like, do you have any stickers?
Some boss-ass stickers.
And I was like, yes, I actually do.
Shall we tell the listeners how they can get their own sticker?
Yeah, Mackenzie, tell them how they can get their own sticker.
If you positively rate and review us and then take a screenshot of it and email it to us at ascarystatepodcast@gmail.com, we will send you not one, not two, but 3 free stickers.
Free stickers.
Free stickers.
You just got to rate and review us. And send us proof that you did.
Yeah.
Because we've gotten some rates and reviews on Spotify, but no one has claimed them.
We have?
Mm-hmm. I know. So let us know when you do it.
Yeah, because now you can leave comments on Spotify.
Leave comments.
So that will take as a review.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Mhm.
But yeah.
Nice one.
Nice ones.
Yeah.
Not nice ones get nothing.
Although I can't imagine someone who left a not nice review would want a sticker.
Right.
But just in case we got some weird people out there.
Right. Who want like a sticker board of all the worst podcasts.
Yeah. But that's their opinion.
Yeah.
So. Our like 7 friends that we know regularly listen say otherwise.
Yeah.
And we don't know them all personally, so they count.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So that's Waynesville.
Before you ask, no, I would not go there.
I was going to ask. I actually think I would. It's like a very cute little town. Like the whole point of the town was they wanted it to look like an old English village.
Mhm.
So it's very cute and it's very spooky, which is just the 2 things I like. Cute and spooky.
If we went to Ohio, for whatever reason.
Ohio.
If anything, we're going to go to Ohio because I would love to go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Ooh, yeah.
I think that'd be cool. I don't know how far Cleveland is from here.
Cleveland. Oh, is that where the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is? Oh, okay.
Yeah. We could make a side trip.
Okay.
During the daytime.
Okay.
Mhm.
And go to some of the cute little shops.
Mhm.
Okay.
And shop.
I'd be down with that.
Shop.
And shop.
Shop.
And see haunted things. And
Shop.
shop. For haunted things.
Just
and
shop.
All right, Mackenzie. What do you got for us for Ohio?
Whew.
Ohio.
Ohio. We're going to start a trend. Actually, probably what's going to happen is we're going to start a trend and then no one's going to give us credit for it.
Yeah.
In rural Ohio counties, I hate that word.
Counties?
Rural.
Rural. Rural juror.
Huh?
Rural juror is hard to say.
That's terrible.
I know.
Those damn URs, man. Coal miners, factory workers, and farmers made up a majority of the population in the early 1990s. Many residents would take advantage of the streams and forests during hunting and fishing seasons. This area was a place where people felt safe leaving their doors unlocked at night, and violent crime was considered a problem in big cities. On November 10th, 1990, 21-year-old Jamie Paxton, a steel worker, headed out with his crossbow in the frosty morning hours to partake in Ohio's annual bow hunting season. Paxton went hunting outside St. Clairsville, an Ohio community near the West Virginia state border, which we can't look at our map.
Oh, man.
But it's there. Paxton lived with his parents in Belmont County, and after breakfast, he said goodbye to his parents, Jean and Mickey Paxton, and headed out in hopes of bagging a deer. Jean had expected her son to come home around mid-afternoon, but he didn't arrive by his usual time. Around 2:40 p.m., Jean looked out the window and saw a sheriff's car pull up.
Uh-oh.
She ran outside onto the porch where her husband was clutching a post for support. She screamed, "Don't tell me, don't even tell me, Jamie's dead." Sadly, Jamie had been found by friends in a bushy hillside along Route 9. Jamie had been killed by rifle bullet wounds to his chest, right knee, and behind.
Oh.
Hunting accidents were not uncommon in southern Ohio, but Sheriff Tom McCourt knew that this had not been an accident. McCourt explained, quote, "When we saw more than one wound, we knew it could not be an accident. Plus, it was a bullet wound rather than an arrow, and gun season was not in yet."
Oh.
Yeah, so right now there should only be people using their crossbows.
Yep.
Investigators checked the area for spent cartridges, tire tracks, footprints, anything that might shed some light on who the killer might be. Unfortunately, the killer had left no clues behind. The community and investigators were dumbfounded by this senseless killing. Authorities interviewed and polygraphed friends, family, and acquaintances and could not find anyone who had ever disliked or had any issues with Jamie Paxton. Little did the Paxtons and Sheriff McCourt know that the death of Jamie would bring to light a serial killer that had been targeting people in secluded areas of rural Ohio.
Oh.
And he would show himself in an unusual way, through a letter sent to Jamie's mother, the media, and the police. A short time after Jamie's murder, Jean, his mother, began writing and sending letters to the killer via the Ferry Times Leaders newspaper. One of her letters said, quote, "To the murderers of my son, Jamie, would it be easier for you if I wrote words of hate? I can't because I don't feel hate. I feel deep sorrow at losing my son. You took a light from my life November 10th and left me with many days of darkness. Have you thought of your own death? Unless you confess your sin and ask for God's forgiveness, you will face the fire and fury of hell. When you are caught, I will be sorry for your family. They will have to carry the burden of your guilt all their lives."
Dang.
Oh yeah, we don't mess with Mama Paxton. She's. Investigators had tried to warn Jean that the killer was probably ruthless and remorseless and would not be moved by her pleas to reveal himself.
Right.
But this did not deter Jean, and she persisted. In October of 1991, she wrote, quote, "It's been nearly a year since you killed my son. Has your life changed in the past 11 months? Our family hasn't lived since last November 10th.
Aww.
We are surviving one day at a time. There is one question on our minds all day long, and every time we wake up at night. We want to know why Jamie was killed." Finally, Jean's hard work paid off, and the killer sent an anonymous typed letter. The person provided previously undisclosed details of the murder scene and explained their actions. Quote, "I am the murderer of Jamie Paxton. Jamie Paxton was a complete stranger to me. I never saw him before in my life, and he never said a word to me that Saturday. Paxton was killed because of an irresistible compulsion that has taken over my life. I knew when I left my house that day that someone would die by my hand. I just didn't know who or where."
Oh my God, that's more terrifying than when there's like a reason for a murder.
Oh, he reminds me of Ed Kemper.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, you'll see. Technically, I meet the definition of a serial killer, but I'm an average-looking person with a family, job, and a home just like yourself. Something in my head causes me to turn into a merciless killer with no conscience. To the Paxtons, you deserve to know the details. I was very drunk, and a voice inside my head said, "Do it." I stopped my car behind Jamie's and got out. Jamie started walking very slowly down the hill toward the road. He appeared to be looking past me at something in the distance. I raised my rifle to my shoulder and lined him up in the sights. It took at least 5 seconds to take careful aim. My first shot was off a little bit and hit him right in the chest. He groaned and went down. I wanted to make sure he was finished, so I fired a second shot, aimed halfway between his hip and shoulder. He was crawling around on the ground.
Oh.
I jerked the shot and hit him in the knee. He raised his head and groaned again.
How can something like this be posted in the newspaper?
Because people are going to read it.
Yeah, but oh my God.
Actually, let me rephrase. I don't know how much was in the newspaper.
Oh, okay.
I know that bits and pieces had been included in the newspapers like at the time. I don't know if it was like fully printed.
Wow.
That I could not find.
Okay.
But I'm assuming that articles from today have the whole thing.
Right.
My third shot also missed and hit him in the butt. He never moved again. 5 minutes after I shot Paxton, I was drinking a beer and had blocked out all thoughts of what I had just done out of my mind. I thought no more of shooting Paxton than shooting a little bottle at the dump. I know you hate my guts, and rightfully so. I think about Jamie every hour of the day, as I'm sure you do. Don't feel bad about not solving this case. You could interview till doomsday everyone that Jamie Paxton ever met in his life, and you wouldn't have a clue to my identity.
Oh my God.
With no motive, no weapon, and no witnesses, you could not possibly solve this crime.
Oh my God. He's a cocky little asshole.
And it's interesting because he goes, I know you hate my guts, and rightfully so. I think about him every hour, as I'm sure you do. But that's it. It's not like, I'm sorry. There's still no remorse.
Right. It's like, yeah, I did it. Okay.
Yeah. And it's like, don't worry. There's a reason you can't solve this crime.
Right. Because I'm too good. And no one will find me.
Well, yeah. And I think part of that, he was also letting them know, like, there was no motive. This was a random person.
Right.
We have no connection.
Like,
you're not going to be
find
able to
me.
find me.
Mm-hmm.
Which is true.
It is.
But very cocky of him to say.
Yes.
The letter was signed, the murderer of Jamie Paxton.
Jeez.
The Belmont County Sheriff's Office now had its first lead. Jean Paxton's love for her son and determination for bringing his killer to justice had exposed a serial killer the authorities had no idea even existed.
Yeah, right? Terrifying.
And when he struck again, the pieces began to fall into place. On Saturday, March 14th, 1992, 49-year-old Claude Hawkins decided to do some early morning fishing after finishing up his midnight shift at Pittsburgh Plate and Glass Company. Married and father of 4, Hawkins loved fishing and had a favorite spot just below Wills Creek Dam, northwest of Belmont, Ohio, in Coshocton County. He was found dead a short while later, shot in the back at close range. Since Hawkins' murder occurred on federal land, the FBI was called in.
Ooh.
Special Agent Harry Trumbitis from the Columbus Field Office was one of the officers assigned to the case. He said, quote, "Usually you would find some type of shell casing in the area. I remember looking very hard, metal detectors, hands and knees, for any shell casings, and that none were ever found. So that was something that, in fact, we had somebody who was evidence conscious enough to pick up the shell casing after they shot and killed somebody.
Yeah.
We were dealing with a very different brand of person here."
Mm-hmm.
The FBI was convinced that Hawkins' murder was not a solitary event. On March 26, 1992, in New Philadelphia, man, Ohio's just taking everybody's names.
I know. Little Miami, New Philadelphia.
Just south of Canton, officers from 4 counties, the Ohio Division of Wildlife, and the FBI gathered to compare notes. As the meeting progressed, the assembled officers discovered that the earliest of possibly related homicides occurred in the spring of 1989.
Mm.
In total, they discovered up to 3 deaths they felt could be linked to the same person, in addition to Jamie Paxton's murder.
Because I was thinking when he said, like, I'm the definition of a serial killer,
Mhm.
this couldn't have been his first killing
It was
because
not.
then you would not be considered a serial killer.
Correct. It was not. So 4 at this point.
Right.
On the morning of April 1st, 1989, on a back road in Tuscarawas.
That sounded so confident.
And terrible. Anyway, that county, which is about 100 miles north of Belmont County, 35-year-old truck driver Donald Welling had been out jogging near his home when someone put a .30 caliber rifle bullet through his heart from around 10 feet away.
Oh my God.
At the time, local authorities could not find a motive or any evidence to help them solve the case.
What I think is really wild, and I don't know why, but the fact that he's using a gun.
Yeah, he's literally just driving up. If he finds a random person,
Right.
They could be doing anything.
Because it's not, I mean, I can't think of, like, off the top of my head another serial killer who used a gun.
Well, what's interesting is that when the DC snipers were happening,
Right.
there's an article kind of using him as an example to, like, get in the mind of a sniper kind of thing.
Weird.
Yeah. Investigators concluded that the killer had been inactive for 19 months before killing Jamie Paxton in November of 1990. They had also discovered that 18 days after Jamie's murder, there had been another murder in Duxbury, Massachusetts on November 28th.
Mm.
Kevin Loring was a 30-year-old refrigerator technician who was married and a father of 3. He had been murdered by a single gunshot wound to the face while he was out hunting deer in a strip mine area in Muskingum County, which is west of Belmont County. So I think even though he was from Massachusetts, he was in Ohio hunting.
Okay.
Initially, Loring's death had been deemed an accident, but investigators determined that Loring had actually been another victim of the serial sniper that was hunting the backroads of Ohio.
Ugh.
Claude Hawkins would be the 4th victim, and 10 days after the task force first met, another outdoorsman was found dead on the morning of April 5th, 1992. Gary Bradley, a 44-year-old steelworker with a wife and 3 children from Williamstown, West Virginia, had been shot in the back while fishing in Noble County, which is adjacent to Belmont County. So when you look at the picture of the map, they're all like in eastern Ohio, and I'm sure they're a lot farther from each other than what the map shows,
Mm-hmm.
but they're all relatively like you can like make a circle.
Ugh.
Yeah. In early May, a secret 5-county federal and local investigation task force was established. The group met at the FBI field office in Columbus to share details of their cases. Additionally, profiles from the FBI's Behavioral Science Unit in Quantico, Virginia, created a profile of the possible killer.
I want that to be me so badly.
Dream job.
Oh, seriously.
Just probably have to go to school a bunch more times
Oh, a bunch more.
and be like a newbie FBI agent. Do all the groundwork first.
No.
Unless you do like a bunch of things in psychology and become like,
Right.
or you could be like Spencer Reed and have like 3 doctoral degrees
Let me get on that.
and be a boy genius.
Okay.
And then you could get
Got to change a couple things about myself to be that.
could be girl genius.
Girl genius.
Yeah.
With my no doctoral degrees.
Not yet.
Not yet. I could maybe be him in, 20 years?
Maybe. If you get some PhD simultaneously. They concluded that, quote, he was a white male over 30. Duh. They're always a white male over 30.
Always.
A gun enthusiast, avid hunter, and owned at least several weapons. The killer would have above average intelligence, but was introverted and without many friends, and would resolve personal problems in a cowardly fashion, like shooting people from a distance.
Because he does the gun from a distance. Yeah.
Mhm. He might have a drinking problem and engage in obscene telephone calls, arson, fire, and vandalism by shooting out windows or tires of vehicles. He likely would take sadistic delight in mutilating and killing animals of all sorts. Stressful events would trigger his criminal episodes, which usually would be committed while he was drunk. And the profile also said that he, quote, lived within easy driving distance of the slayings. By midsummer, the task force had investigated and ruled out at least 100 possible suspects, but they were not much closer to finding the killer. On July 30th, 1992, which would have been Jamie's 23rd birthday, Jean Paxton sent another letter to the paper. She described how she had baked her son's favorite cake that day and said in the letter, quote, but Jamie wasn't there to enjoy it. There's a small child in our family whose biggest worry was who's going to blow out the candles on Jamie's cake.
Stop.
The next time there's a birthday in your family, I hope you think of the cake on your table and know you are the reason Jamie wasn't there to blow out the candles.
Oh,
Mom.
seriously.
Do not mess with. I could totally see Donna doing this.
Well, hopefully she never has to, but yes, I
Correct.
could do.
100%. But I could totally see her doing that.
Oh, yeah.
In August, investigators concluded that the killer was not going to risk sending in another letter himself and decided to go public. In a press release to the media, they explained that they suspected a serial killer was hunting outdoorsmen in a loose cluster of eastern Ohio counties and released the FBI's profile of the suspect. On August 26, 1992, Tuscarawas County Sheriff's Detective Sergeant Walter Wilson got a call from 43-year-old Richard Fry. Apparently, Fry had read the August 11th, 1992 report in a newspaper. Fry told Detective Wilson, quote, I saw the reports about the task force that had been formed to solve the killings, and I just think I got a guy who should be investigated as a possible suspect. The man was nervous about coming into the station, so Detective Wilson agreed to meet him at a private location outside of town later that day.
Oh.
During their meeting, Fry explained to Wilson that the profile sounded a lot like an old high school buddy of his, Tom Dillon, an employee of the Canton Water Department. In the 1970s, Fry said he and Dillon often drove around eastern Ohio together, drinking beer, shooting road signs, and committing minor acts of arson.
Just minor acts.
Yeah. Fry recounted his conversation to David Knox and two other Akron Beacon Journal reporters. So at first he was being anonymous, but then I think later on he was like, yeah, sure, I'll tell my story.
Right.
To the news. He said, quote, back in the year we graduated, we were having a problem with some other kids at high school. One of these standoffs. You throw something at my car, I throw something at your car. But nobody ever throws a punch. One night, one of the other guys kicked his car, meaning Tom's. Tom pulled out his gun and took a shot at the guy. I asked him this, did you really mean to hit him? And he said, yes, I meant to hit him. I used to go hunting with him because we were gun enthusiasts. In the beginning, it was all pretty legitimate. But then we started hitting these dumps in southern Stark County. We would go there hunting rats and things. I remember we ran into a couple of scraggly dogs one time. They were all diseased. They were sick. I remember they had open sores. Tom said, do you think I ought to kill them? And I said, well, you'd probably be doing them a favor. I remember him shooting them. I didn't think much of it. Wild dogs can be vicious. Then he started shooting dogs, just dogs, along the road. I said, Tom, shooting a wild dog is one thing, but that dog doesn't look very wild to me. He said, you can't let them damn things be running around. I let it go once or twice, but then I said, Tom, you got to quit it or I won't go out with you anymore. Those are somebody's pets. Somebody loves them. It's just not right to do that.
Yeah.
Fry added, we used to discuss serial killers too, especially
God.
Ted Bundy. Tom was fascinated by Bundy. In time, Fry said Dillon became more sadistic. He said, quote, once while driving back from Atwood Lake in Carroll County, Tom pulled off the side of the road and pulled out his gun and started shooting at this farmer.
Oh my God.
Apparently, the farmer was a good way off, 200-300 yards. One of the others in the car protested, what the hell are you doing? Dillon explained that he couldn't hit a target at that distance with a pistol, so, quote, I'm just plinking at him. I don't know what that means. Fry said, I just didn't have anything more to do with him. In fact, if I'd seen him someplace, I didn't even wave or talk to him.
Wow.
I ran into Dillon again in Newcomerstown in southern Tuscarawas County in about 1986. This was the first I'd spoken to him in a long time. I said, what in the world are you doing clear down here? He said, oh, just driving around, this and that. When I saw him in Newcomerstown, I thought he's moving farther south because he's still up to his old ways. They moved the Ohio Gun Collectors Association gun show up to Cleveland, and I wasn't a member, so Dillon invited me to be his guest. He said he had stopped killing animals, so I guess we could be friends again. I remember one time he and I were driving, and he said, do you realize you can go out into the country and find somebody and there are no witnesses? You can shoot them. There's no motive. Do you realize how easy murder would be to get away with? And I said, yeah, but why would you do it?
Oh my God.
On a trip to a gun show last summer, we were talking about Ted Bundy and how a guy could get away with all that. Tom said, do you think I ever killed somebody? The question really caught me off guard. I said, no, I don't think so. And he said, that just proves you don't know me very well.
Oh.
The way he said that to me was really scary. I'd never seen him like that before. And I thought, has anybody been shot? Fry went on to say that Dillon lived with his family in Mongolia, which is about 75 miles from where Jamie Paxton was murdered. So not necessarily close.
Right.
But you're killing people in the wilderness.
Yeah.
So probably the only part of the profile that was like off.
Mm-hmm.
Members of the investigating task force interviewed Tom Dillon's coworkers and neighbors. One coworker who said he had known Dillon for 20 years said Dillon's nickname was Killer because he often bragged about shooting dogs and cats. The coworker and a second city employee described Dillon as a loner. They told investigators he did not have a good relationship with his wife. The coworkers also provided a possible link between Dillon and the murders of the outdoorsmen. Dillon kept maps on his table and filing cabinets of many of the East Central Ohio counties where the killings occurred.
Oh my God, sir!
A second link was established when Dillon's history of firearm purchases showed he bought numerous weapons from a coworker who had a federal firearms dealer's license. The dealer's record showed Dillon had bought 18 weapons in the last several years, including 4 .30 caliber type rifles and 2 Mausers of the kind used to kill 4 of the 5 victims.
Okay. Ding, ding, ding.
Dillon was also linked to the crimes because his weekends and vacation time matched the dates of the killings.
Oh my God.
On September 20th, 1992, a neighbor saw a red Toyota pickup truck near the spot where a dog was killed in Tuscarawas County. A .25 caliber bullet was removed from the dog, and Richard Fry had told Detective Wilson that Dillon owned a similar gun. Beginning in mid-October, the task force tailed Dillon from the air and on the ground to gun shows and on weekend trips to Belmont, Harrison, Tuscarawas, Holmes, Coshocton, and counties. So sorry how badly I butchered all of those. He was often seen drinking from early in the morning. On November 8th, aerial surveillance saw Dillon stop several times and point what appeared to be a gun at electric meters on oil well pumps and a stop sign. Dillon also stopped next to a car with a for sale sign on it, picked up a large rock, and threw it into the windshield.
Oh my God. I mean, I would love to do that.
Correct.
But I wouldn't do it.
Correct. Would love to do that and it not have consequences.
Yes. Because, I mean, it's just kind of fun.
I don't want to do it to hurt someone.
Right.
Right.
Like at a dump, like an old car at a dump that's just going to be scrapped.
Correct.
That would be fun.
It would be. Dillon was spotted visiting Kevin Loring's grave in Massachusetts.
Who was he?
He's the 4th person he killed.
Why?
I also, like other sources, said that he was visiting Jamie Paxton's grave on the anniversary. And later, it said when he went up with his wife to Massachusetts for like a vacation,
Yeah.
he like went to like a library to like look up Kevin Loring because he didn't know him. So he just wanted to know.
That's weird.
Yeah. Because he had no idea who he was. So
Right.
Random person. So he was like, let me look him up. Despite the surveillance, Dillon attempted to kill Larry Oler in Tuscarawas County, but he missed him and Olier escaped uninjured.
Oh my God.
On November 11th, task force members lost sight of Dillon on his way home from Belmont County. Later that day, they learned that 2 cows had been killed with a crossbow in the T County. Richard Fry helped obtain several of Dillon's arrows and matched those found in the dead cows. On a remote Harrison County road, an FBI surveillance plane with Detective Sergeant Walter Wilson on board was following Dillon's red pickup truck. Dillon was already drunk on beer. Ahead of the truck was a T intersection, and near it, a female jogger had turned right. Now, most sources says that
Most sources says.
Yeah, that Dillon turned left.
Okay.
But when I watched the episode of the FBI files, it was like a close call. Like he had passed the runner and then turned around. And so they were convinced that like he was going to go back and kill her. But then she must have turned off or something like that because she wasn't like on the road anymore.
Oh my God.
And so he just like kept going and just like was shooting at like inanimate objects. Thankfully, regardless of how it happened, he did not kill her.
Jeez.
Authorities followed Dillon to a gun show in New Philadelphia on November 21st, 1992, where he bought a .22 caliber rifle. The purchase of the gun was enough to arrest Dillon for violating his bond on the silencer charge, but there was nothing to link him to the killings of the outdoorsmen. He had like a couple of...
What, so he bought a silencer and he wasn't allowed to?
So I thought I had included that, but I must have taken it out, so my bad. Okay, so when they were looking him up and the gun charges that he had, one of them, I don't remember, it was something with buying a silencer illegally.
Oh, okay.
And so as part of that plea deal, he was not allowed to buy any more guns.
Gotcha.
So because he went to the gun show and bought one,
right,
that was enough to be able to arrest him.
Gotcha.
Yeah, sorry. I thought I included that. I must have not.
You might have, and maybe it just went in one year out the other. I don't think you included it.
No,
though.
I don't think I did. Investigators faced a tough decision. By waiting to arrest him, they risked losing him and giving him the chance to kill again. Ohio's deer season would open November 30th, 1992, drawing more than 300,000 hunters into the woods.
Oh, my God.
Authorities decided not to take the gamble.
Yeah.
They arrested Dillon outside Tuscarawas County convenience store on November 27th, 1992, hoping that a search of his home would reveal other damning evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, searches of Dillon's house, Toyota pickup truck, camper, office, and safe deposit box turned up nothing.
Bummer.
5 days later, at his bond hearing, prosecutors revealed that Dillon was the prime suspect in 5 killings. Investigators did another press release asking anyone who had information about gun purchases or just pretty much anything about Thomas Dillon to contact them. On December 4th, 1992, a Stark County man came forward and told investigators that he had bought a Swedish Mauser rifle from Dillon at a Massillon gun show on April 6th. So it was the day after, I forget who it was that was killed.
But after one of the murders.
Yeah. Literally the day after that. The man turned the rifle and a receipt over to investigators. Ballistic tests matched the bullets recovered from Gary Bradley and Claude Hawkins with the rifle. On January 22nd, 1993, a Noble County grand jury indicted Dillon on 2 counts of aggravated murder with death penalty specifications, and his bond was set at $1 million.
Oh, my gosh.
So what the report said was that they just did the 2 at first, given especially like the public interest, so to speak. But they still planned on charging him with the others.
Right. But sometimes it's like you don't want to put everything in at once because the whole double jeopardy thing.
Exactly. Officials at the Stark County Jail placed Dillon on homicide watch.
Oh?
After 2 strips of blanket were found in his cell. One of the strips had reportedly been fashioned into a noose. Dillon claimed the strips were used to cover his eyes while he slept.
So homicide watch, does that mean that they think he's going to kill someone? Whereas suicide watch means they think they're going to kill themselves?
Shortly after the incident, Dillon told a mental health counselor, quote, that he would strangle inmates if he had a chance and he wouldn't shed a tear.
There we go.
So
okay.
yes.
Yep.
Because I was like, did they mean to say homicide?
Yeah.
Did they mean suicide? I'm like, nope, they meant homicide.
Because, I mean, homicide watch is not really ever something we've heard about.
Ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, who is Thomas Lee Dillon?
Who is he?
Thomas Lee Dillon was born in Canton, Ohio on July 9th, 1950. His father succumbed to Hodgkin's disease and died when Dillon was just 15 months old. Psychologist Jeffrey Smalden, who was hired by the defense to determine Dillon's sanity, he found him sane.
Oh.
Said that Dillon viewed his mother as a cold woman who never praised or punished him.
Never praised, only punished. Or never praised or punished, so didn't give him any attention.
Yeah, I think it was neglect.
Negative. Yeah.
Yeah, because the next thing he says, quote, Dillon has no memories of his mother ever hugging him, kissing him, or telling him she loved him.
Oh.
So I think it was maybe almost even worse than, I don't know. I can't say it's worse because I haven't been in that experience. But instead of it being like over punishment, it's just straight up nothing. Yeah.
Which, I mean, I can see why. Again, haven't been in that situation, but I can see why that would be worse because at least with one, you're still getting some attention.
Right.
Even though it's awful attention,
Correct.
You're still getting some attention.
Yes, absolutely. Classmates from Glenwood High School in Plain Township remembered Dillon as extremely intelligent with an IQ of 135.
Wow.
But a loner. His 1968 senior yearbook lists no extracurricular activities, which I don't think mine would either, but that's okay. Dillon loved to hunt, obviously. He simply liked to kill and enjoyed watching animals suffer.
Oh my God.
As a teenager, Dillon began keeping count of the animals he killed on a calendar in the bedroom of his home on 37th Street Northwest in Canton. He also kept a separate calendar listing all the girls he had sex with.
Oh.
Following high school, Dillon attended Kent State University's Stark campus and later Ohio State University.
Question, were there a lot of girls on that list?
I don't know.
Because I'm curious if, considering he's like a loner and stuff, if that was something that, like I'm just wondering.
Well, it's actually interesting you bring up that question because of what someone else says about him.
Okay.
And, okay, I'll get to it and then we'll circle back because it all ties together.
Oh yeah, let's circle back to this one.
Put a pin in it. A man who had hunted with Dillon for several years said, quote, Dillon was a bad hunter. He goes on to say, quote, he would shoot at farmers' cats after getting permission to hunt on their land. He just didn't care.
Oh my God.
He once boasted of killing a deer caught in high water while crossing a river. He brought the deer home without field dressing it. He gutted the carcass in his yard and made a mess of it. Dillon didn't seem to understand the concept of friendship. He never offered to do a favor or asked for one. It was always a trade, the hunter said. I'll do this for you if you do that.
Right.
He never talked about women. He never mentioned his wife and love in the same sentence.
Oh.
He was always changing guns and carrying weapons, even when he rode a bike. So to come back,
To circle back,
they don't really like touch on it. At no point in here does anyone say he was like a ladies' man.
Because that's what I'm wondering. Like, is he like a loner, but he's like really good with his words, or is he a loner in all terms of like the word loner?
From what I think, especially because he made it when he was a teenager, it was like
a teenage guy thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Versus like, I don't think he actually cared. You know how like they'll say that people will act a certain way so that they don't come off as sociopathic and things like that. Like I'm wondering if it was kind of like that.
Okay.
And then just as he got older, he just stopped caring.
Right.
Yeah.
Stopped with the charade.
Yeah.
The charade.
The charade. The hunter estimated that Dillon fired approximately 1,000 rounds a year in target practice.
Oh my God.
Dillon shot so often that he had permanently damaged his hearing. Quote, he seemed to get a physical thrill out of killing, the hunter said. He once used a knife to finish off a wounded groundhog. He was shaking. He was in a frenzy, wild-eyed. So obviously, after graduating college, he got married. And he did have one son.
Okay.
And because this was already long enough, I didn't include it in here, but I'm going to tell you now. I think it might have been Fry when he was like explaining who this guy was to the police initially. One of the things he had talked about was the mistreatment of his son.
By him? Like
yeah,
by
Dillon.
By Dillon.
Yeah. So apparently there was this one time, one place said chipmunk, another place said squirrel. Regardless, they were in the backyard. He had killed this animal while his kid was out there and then began like chasing him around with it.
Oh.
Like chasing after his son. And of course his son was like trying to get away.
Traumatized.
Yeah. And when his son tripped, like he put the dead animal like in his face.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Like real sick guy.
There's some people who should not be parents.
Yeah. And taking from the fact that like in all of this, there was never a quote from like his wife or anything like that.
Yeah.
The only one that came from his family was his mother-in-law. So I'm like, she probably was like, no, thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to be associated anymore.
Sounds like a sick guy. On February 9th, 1993, 100 spectators gathered outside the Noble County Courthouse as Dillon, handcuffed and in shackles, was escorted inside. Some say that he had a smirk on his face.
I wouldn't be surprised.
The proceeding was short, and Dillon pleaded not guilty to murder charges in the deaths of Gary Bradley and Claude Hawkins. A third murder charge was filed against Dillon on May 22nd, 1993. He was charged with the aggravated murder and the death of Jamie Paxton. Just 4 days after having been charged with Paxton's murder, Dillon was sentenced to 3 years and 10 months in prison, the maximum on the unrelated federal firearm charges.
So he hasn't been like sentenced for the deaths yet? Like
he hasn't gone to trial for that yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because initially when they arrested him, that's what it was on.
Right.
Before he could be tried for the 3 capital murders, Dillon placed a call from jail to a WTOV television reporter on July 3rd, 1993, and confessed to the murders.
Oh.
Some say he confessed to the police. A similar call had been placed to an Akron Beacon Journal reporter. Quote, I have major problems. I am crazy. I want to kill. I want to kill, is supposedly what Dillon told them. Although some say that was what he said in court. But he said it at some point.
He said it sometime. Some point, he said.
Yeah. The following day, Dillon's attorneys put together a plea bargain in which Dillon would confess to all the murders on the guarantee that he would not receive the death penalty.
Okay. Because, yeah, at that point, your defense lawyers are like, well, you kind of already said it. Like, we can't get you off on that.
And I truly think he wanted to tell people about it.
Oh, probably. I mean, that's one of the things. There are serial killers who, like, want to talk about it.
Like, he was bragging. Because the video confession was 4 hours.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Like, that's detail. So I have, like, some tidbits from it and just kind of, like, what the psychologist who had, like, worked with him, so to speak, and, like, his thoughts of kind of who he was and maybe why he did some of those things. So at one point, a sheriff offers some photographs to Dillon, who is very eager to see it.
Ew.
So investigator says, you want to see the autopsy photos? Dillon says, I want to see them all. Show them all to me.
Why are they allowed to do that? Ugh.
I don't know. The investigator says, okay. Dillon says, I never saw him in color. What the hell? Investigator, okay, we'll show you some pictures. Dillon, not the neatest job in the world, was it? Investigator, the shooting? And yeah, it's not. Dillon cuts him off and goes, no, this autopsy. Geez, dirty job, I'll tell you.
Yeah, okay, because you have all the knowledge of how to do that.
Yeah. When they asked why he killed, Dillon never seemed to have an answer. Asked if he had any feelings towards his victims, Dillon answered, no feelings whatsoever. They were just there, the wrong place at the wrong time. One point when he says that he did feel bad about Jamie Paxton because he was so young, because he was 21, where the other guys were in their 30s and 40s.
So that makes it, yeah.
Right. So, you know, he had his whole life ahead of him. I'm like, oh, so he wasn't old enough for you to kill yet?
Right.
The fuck? Psychologist Jeffrey Smalden asked Dillon about this so-called voice in his head that had told him to kill these people.
Back to what we heard at the beginning.
Yeah. And that's kind of what he always said when he when it's like, well, why'd you kill this person? It's like, well, I drove past them and this voice was like, go back and do it or whatever.
Okay.
Smalden said Dillon, quote, finally admitted, well, like, it wasn't another voice. I know it was me. It was my own voice. It was my voice in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Smalden also said that Dillon was living in a fantasy world of his own creation. Quote, he talked on and on about the various fantasy roles that he envisioned himself in over the years. They ran the gamut from being president of the United States to being lead singer for the Doors or the Beatles to being brought out of retirement by the Cleveland Browns to lead the team to the Super Bowl.
These are like dreams he had for himself?
Fantasies.
Sorry.
And like the way that people describe these fantasies is like, I guess that's also part of why he was like driving around. Like he was like living, so to speak, in these fantasies. I don't know.
Okay. It sounds like they're trying to go for an insanity plea.
No, they're not, because this same psychologist said he was sane. He knew exactly what he was doing and that it was wrong.
Okay.
So definitely not. It's just more of like explaining these are the things I learned about him.
Okay.
As I talked with him.
Mm-hmm.
But they all link together by the theme of power, prestige, influence, and grandiosity. Now, I also found that his fantasy life has a much darker component than the examples I've cited. Certain of his fantasies involved him as a combatant in a war situation. I think he's holding back because he wants to remain a puzzle, Smalden says. He would ask me, have you ever met anyone as complicated as me? Can you understand this? Is this behavior as perplexing to you as it is to me?
Ew.
There's never been a crime like this in Ohio, has there?
Has there? Oh my God, look at me.
No motive, no contact with the victims. How could you figure that out? And then he would just shrug and say, I don't know. Dillon admitted to setting 160 fires.
Jeez.
And committing other acts of vandalism in eastern Ohio during the preceding 5 years. Noble County Sheriff Landon Smith estimated that Dillon's fires caused more than $2 million in damages.
Whoa. The
fires were set in Coshocton, Belmont, Guernsey, Carroll, Columbiana, and Tuscarawas counties. Okay.
Yep.
On July 12, 1993, Thomas Dillon entered his pleas before Judge John New in Noble County Common Pleas Court. He showed no emotion as he answered guilty to each charge. Under the plea agreement, New sentenced Dillon to a life in prison with no chance of parole for 165 years, the maximum sentence. In the FBI Files video, they end it with like, and Dillon is up for parole in 165 years. Jean says she was relieved the case was over, telling the media, quote, today is the beginning of the end for Thomas Dillon.
Aww.
Nonetheless, she was upset that Dillon showed no remorse. She said, quote, we were given a life sentence the day he decided to kill our son. I think he's a pathetic coward. He's taken a coward way out of everything.
Yup.
At 7 o'clock the next night after the sentencing, the Paxton's telephone rang. It was Thomas Dillon. He told Jean Paxton that her pathetic coward comment had hurt him.
Oh, boo-hoo.
Again, never mess with Mama Paxton. She says, quote, that's what you are, Thomas. And if you start with your cocky attitude, I will hang up.
How was he given phone privileges to call them?
That I don't know.
Jeez.
That I definitely was like, phone privileges, sure, but like how specifically was he given their number?
Oh, yeah. How was he given their number?
Like, unless he like tricked or whatever into being like, I don't know. Because at least in Wentworth on that TV show, the people have to be on a specific call list. So you can't just call random people. Yeah.
You have to request to have these people added to your call list, and that's who you're allowed to call.
I don't know. I don't know if it was different in the 90s. I don't know if he just called 411. Like,
oh my God, yeah, 411 was a thing.
Yeah, like, I don't know.
I had the worst 411 caller once. We tried to call, of course, our crush. And I was like, I think this is his number, but I'm not sure. And they were like, well, it seems like you already have it, so why don't you just try it? And I was like, this is your job.
Damn.
You have to tell me the number.
You're probably tired of little girls calling about their crushes.
Oh, I know. Can I talk to this number, please? I can't believe that was allowed.
I know, right? So she goes on to say, I've heard enough of that for the past several months. I'm not interested in what you have to say, but there are things I want you to know. Thomas, have you ever heard the expression, tears are the safety valve of the heart? He had not, so she talked about repentance and prayer. Quote, Quit your profanity, stop the loopy simpering in front of the cameras, and pick up the Bible before it's too late, she said. Paxton continued speaking to him for an hour, finally concluding, quote, "We have spoken long enough. I can't hate you, but I can never forgive you for what you've done to our lives."
Oh, I can hate you.
Same. Dillon pleaded with authorities not to be sent to Ohio's toughest facility, the maximum security prison in Lucasville, in November 1993. He said, "If I go to Lucasville, I'm a dead man."
Good.
When the news of this comment reached Jean Paxton, love mama, she collected 8,000 names on a petition, and Dillon was sent to Lucasville.
Amazing.
Isn't that beautiful?
Amazing.
Absolutely beautiful.
Oh.
She also won a $25 million wrongful death judgment against any future money Dillon might make, because apparently Dillon's wife had been trying to sell the story to Hollywood.
Oh.
I'm like, girl, I get, like, you're not in the greatest situation right now either, but come on.
Yeah, because I think it must have been around this time, because it was a Son of Sam law that they came up with, where you can't make money off, like, the killer cannot make money off of their crimes.
So Ohio made their own version.
Oh.
And Jean and the state senator at the time, Bob Nye, had passed the Paxton Law, which barred killers or their relatives from profiting from the crime.
Good, because they shouldn't.
Absolutely not. Yes.
No, like, yes. No, I agree.
Absolutely, you are right.
I think you could say absolutely or absolutely not, and both would be fitting in this situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify.
Like,
I'm
I mean,
on
yes.
your side.
Yes, exactly.
In conclusion, Dillon was also investigating connection with the unsolved shooting death of John Joseph Harvat on November 28th, 1984, at a hunting camp in Wetmore Township, Pennsylvania. In 1993, officials in Conshohocken County notified the Pennsylvania State Police that Dillon had been named as a suspect in several similar shootings in Ohio, but Dillon refused to discuss Harvat's case with the police.
I hate that.
In 2020, suspicion was placed on Dillon of having murdered Doug Estes and Jim Bennett, two hunters shot in rural Michigan in 1990. A Michigan man, Jeff Titus, had been convicted of the murders in 2002. In 2003, a judge ordered the murder convictions to be vacated and for Titus to be released.
Oh my gosh.
Dillon was hospitalized on October 4th, 2011. And then on October 21st, he died in prison. At Corrections Medical Center in Columbus, Ohio at age 61 after being ill for nearly 3 weeks due to an unspecified illness.
I hope it was really painful.
Well, it sounds like it was if he suffered for 3 weeks. Good. And that is Thomas Lee Dillon.
So his name sounds very familiar.
He's one of those 3 namers. There's a lot of Tommy Lees out there.
Could be. But yeah, his crimes, I was like, not familiar with these.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I just think it's so odd that he did it by shooting.
Yeah.
Because you don't really hear about that.
I think more so, like, or at least from the way it was described, it wasn't just like walking, like, it wasn't like Son of Sam where it walk up and shoot you. Like, it was more of a sniper shot.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess there's also like the Night Stalker who did shoot, but I don't know. It just sounds different from other ones. You know,
especially like the sniper aspect,
right? Because you're not close. Because it takes away kind of like some of the personal feeling of it.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean. Like again, like Son of Sam or the Night Stalker, they were like in close range. They're seeing their victim, the victim seeing them.
Yeah,
but in these cases, it seems like the victim wasn't really seeing him. They were just kind of.
One of the questions the investigators asked when they were talking about the different shootings, and I can't remember which one it was, but there's one that he like brags about that he shot the person between their eyes. And the investigator had asked if he went to go see, is he actually dead?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, no, I don't miss. Like I you know, his hat shot up, 20 feet from there. Like I knew. So none of them he went over, at least most of them, he never went over to like see.
Wild.
Yeah. And some think that there's like, he talked about a possible murder like 13 years before all of this, where it was just some guy sitting in his living room in a chair watching TV and he just shot him through the window.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So anywhere from like 5 to 9.
Jeez.
5 confirmed. So.
Scary.
Sick dude.
Yeah.
Sick dude.
Well, nicely told.
Thank you.
And like we said, rate and review us.
Oh, yeah, this is like, we saw more. What are you talking about? No, we didn't. Not for this episode. For the next one.
Yes. We can be found at A Scary State Podcast or A Scary State Pod. We can be emailed at ascarystatepodcast@gmail.com.
Follow, like, review, tell your friends.
So stay scary.
Stay safe.